Coming up on Raceweek, spills and thrills from 1988, where you'll see some of the wildest accidents from the 1988 season. Where in Daytona Beach, Florida, Richard Petty took a wild ride in the Daytona 500. And short track controversy and destruction. And ending with Donnelly's flip at Thompson. The first snow in New England has fallen, and the controversy and the banging still continued at New Smyrna. A new year, another story perhaps. In the modified division, Jay Edgecock had crossed up. More smoke than one might imagine, sent people scrambling in the pit area. And for George Savory, the mini modifieds get off to a real tough start. One might say that the 9 nights were thrilling all by themselves during Speed Week. And what about Richard Petty doing a wild duet down the back straightaway area? He'd go around and around again as Jimmy Horton showed his talents on asphalt while running in Winston Cup competition. Perhaps the most frightening crash of the season occurred as J.D. McDuffie's car erupted as a fiery ball. McDuffie would try to still hold the car down and bring it to a stop in the center of the infield. The field was now under caution, but McDuffie's car was still flaming as McDuffie would try to remove himself from the flaming and burning Winston Cup car. J.D. McDuffie was taken to the hospital. He would recover from this unbelievable crash at Daytona. Another look at Richard Petty's wild crash that almost retired him from auto racing. Brett Bodine's hard shot to the driver's side of car number 43. And the excitement still continues, with Harry Gant running into his share of problems with the Skull Bandit number 33. But the Bandit car just wouldn't quit and headed back to the pit area. And the Busch Grand Nationals, they had their share of problems too, sending debris into the grandstand area, injuring some of the fans. And the cars, well, they told a different story all by themselves. Back at New Smyrna, Bobby Fuller would have his share of problems. So would John Anderson with car number 13. But there were still more controversial stories from the New Smyrna Speedway. Stacy looked impressive, and Savory got punched all around with car number 21. And the late models, they put on the same type of excitement, and so did the modifieds, as Dick Trickle slammed the wall hard. Jay Hedgecock and Tony Jankowiak would have their share of problems too. And Stacy and Savory, they battled and duked it out night after night. Jim Spencer, defending Modified Tour champion, would get off to a tough start at Orange County and end his day during the competition there. The season warmed up at the Orange County Speedway for the first race of the year. Brian Ross and Reggie Ruggiero were looking good when Frank Fleming got crossed up. Tommy Bowles would squeak by, and so would Mike McLaughlin. Stacy Compton was looking good for a while in the late models, and at Martinsville, more problems. Carl Pastriak and Phil Smith and Ed Plenty Jr. would be involved in this one. And Brian Ross, he wouldn't get off to a good start. Later in the event, more problems developed. Ronnie Shepard with car number 34 and Wayne Edwards with car number 48. And the controversy still continued, as Dale Jarrett would have his share of problems with car number 32. And trying to keep it nice and low, well, Elton Sawyer found problems in doing just that with the Monte Carlo SS. Jim Spencer changed his color to red, and Hensley and Ottinger showed that the Battle of the South and the war was still on. At Riverside Park Speedway, more problems this time for Tom Rosati. The Sizzler got heated up for George Gadaskis at Stafford. And at Riverside Park Speedway, George Rodinas was back into the wall in turn 1. Glenn Cusack would get off to a tough start at the Lee USA Speedway for the Act Coors Tour. Bud Bilodeau would discover how tough the cement wall would be. And Claude Leclerc, he'd have the same type of a problem with Russ Erlin. And Jamie Aubie became hot stuff with car 41. And while Mike McLaughlin was trying to expand his point lead, Reggie Ruggiero had a problem with Mike Iwanitsko with car number 36. Lloyd Agar would slam the wall hard off turn number 4, literally shearing off the right side of car number 78. and the competition and the excitement would continue. Another mix-up would occur with John Redding tagging the front straightaway wall at Thompson during one of the major qualifying events. A problem on the restart sent Dave Resendiz, causing a chain reaction involving Reggie Ruggiero and Mikey Winitsko. And Tommy Bowles and Ricky Fuller, they too would have their share of problems initially in the start. George Kent and Tom Baldwin duked it out during the closing laps and then duked it out down on pit road. And the pro stocks, well, they sheared off the fiberglass pretty much on a regular basis. And tizzy really created a tizzy with Rosenfield down the back straightaway. Short track excitement at Riverside, Marcel Luttrell would get crossed up and cause another one of those chain reactions. And in the pro stock division, Teddy Hebert, Wayne Carroll, and more would come together in turn one. And even a champion like Tom Ferd would have an off night. And speaking of off nights, the street stocks at Riverside had several of them during the course of the season. Gary Fermani would go around and Bobby G would get tangled up. At Beach Ridge for the Course Tour, Bob Bilodeau and Carlton Roby would come together. Jack Bateman and Pete Rondeau would also have their share of problems. As Jean-Paul Cabana would make contact, but be able to get away. And back at the Martinsville Speedway, Jerry Cramner would have his share of problems. Tom Baldwin was looking impressive and expanding his lead out in front, when 8 cars would lock horns and get crossed up all together, blocking the racetrack just off from the turn. At the Waterford Speed Bowl, new pavement would be the story, but for some it would be real tough to get used to. And for others, it was just tough to get around Waterford, like Bob Potter, frontrunner, former New London Waterford Speed Bowl champion. Drift up wide and the wall will literally suck you in at the Waterford Speed Bowl. And more pro stock controversy and excitement, the M6, Chris Kilpeck, and Bob Sokolowski. And Al Flynn will try to hold on down the straightaway and through the turn. The super modifieds were super at Thompson. And Steve Goya would go around with car number 9. Jeff Berry would literally mow the grass at the Thompson Speedway down through the center of the infield area with car number 22. And Ron Rocco, he'd light him up coming off turn number 4 and take that long, safe slide. And there'd be more sliding at the Thompson Speedway. Eddie Spires this time with car number 3X. And late model street stock excitement at Thompson saw many a car going spinning and ending up heading down the racetrack even backwards. Swanson and Green do a little bit of paint swapping as Brian McCarthy goes through the smoke to maintain his spot on the outside. Wade Gagner almost makes it by with car number 7. And still there's more excitement. Tommy Tagg gets tagged and goes spinning with car number 3X. And Rondo, he's caught in the thick of this one with car number 41. Then there were the mud bogs from Westfield, where getting dirty was having a lot of fun. Or a quick mail delivery through the mud. The U.S. mail never looked so good. Back at Riverside Park for Rewide, Tommy Bowles, Brian Schofield, and Bruce D'Alessandro. Teddy Hebert would have a tough night of it. Joe Nimorowski would have his share of problems, and Johnny Lobo Jr. would cut a tire, but would be okay. Farino would tag the wall and spark him up all the way down the back straightaway. And at Monadnock Motor Raceway, Bob Newcomb would get his pilot's license with car number 58. And what about some pole vaulting in the Strictly stocks? Indianapolis Raceway Park showcased the modified division, and Steve Park would like to forget this showcase. At Riverside Park Speedway, Ed Kennedy was coming to the front of the field with car 28, then decided to head the wrong direction, sacking up the rest of the field. The course tour ran him once again at St. Air, and at Lee, USA, the field took, well, alternate directions. Next, we're going to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll bring you more of the excitement from Spills and Thrills from inside, where it's a little bit warmer. Welcome back to Raceweek. You know, next we're going to be taking a look at more of the excitement from the summer months. For more of the best in Spills and Thrills from 1988. Monadnock Motor Raceway, the Busch Grand National North took off through the woods for a while. Jeff Spraker would have a problem getting used to Busch GN competition. And modified controversy, the two Fuller brothers got at it, and Jeff Fuller ended up in the woods. We take that long dejected walk back to the pit area, ending his day for the competition there. And Mike McLaughlin, well, he had a tough time of getting used to the high banks of Monadnock Motor Raceway, but he just wouldn't give up. Doug Heveron and Reggie Ruggiero would go at it, and Ruggiero would show the worst of the wear with car number 44. Wayne Anderson, Ed Flemke, and Rusty Ball would come together. Mini stocks, well, they would dazzle the folks, running 4 and 5 and even 6 wide at times. And motocross excitement indoors. Bob Skinger would be in search of his first victory at Riverside Park Speedway when he would get crossed up as Teddy Chalmers would come in and T-bone it. More of the same type of rough stuff off turn number 4 at Riverside. A lot of body slamming, but they're still okay. And how about a pig pile at Oxford Plains Speedway with a 26 and 43? Some heated excitement here. More great racing excitement from the Oxford Plains Speedway, and more of that motocross, uphill and downhill competition. And the four-wheel quad competitors would try the course once again. They'd find it just as tough to get through. Locking horns for more of the motocross riders. And Jim Spencer has a tough day at the Oswego Speedway with car number 24. John Anderson goes for a wow ride in the modifieds at Stafford. Speaking of wow rides, there were many at the Stafford Motor Speedway for the modified division. Like this particular situation occurring off turn number 4. Jimmy Broderick and Bo Gunning would come together. Broderick and Gunning would slide down through the center of the infield. Capacetti and Bo Gunning would duke it out at Stafford. Pro stock controversy and excitement for Reno would spark him up down the back straightaway. Paul Supernaut would be involved with Mike Dagno. Gary Fermani would lock horns with the 0-2. Jack Bateman would cause more thunder at Thunder Road, as Larry Hebert would be involved with car number 58. As Bateman would take a shot to the door. And Ricky Craven, he too would have a tough go of it at Thunder Road with car number 09. At Monadnock Motor Raceway, more excitement in the modified division as things get crossed up once again. And in the pro stock division, Batchelder would get crossed up and slide up into the turn area. Jerry Marquis would go around, and Mike Cody would literally go up and down the side of Wes Rosner's car. Plus, Batchelder would do it once again with car 78. John Lobo Jr. would be involved in this one, and Gary Baker would slam the wall hard in turns 1 and 2. John Zavisa and Bruce D'Alessandro would duke it out once again. Rick Turcotte would come around in front of Billy Lauritsen with car number 57. And in dirt track competition, things were sideways, perhaps more than they were straight. And a flat tire might be the story for some, but end over end would be the story for others. Not a good day to end at the races. Back at Monadnock once again, Reggie Ruggiero would go down pit road, this time sideways, with car number 44. And the pro stocks would battle once again, right down to the wire. Well, almost the wire. Gigi Grapple would try to hold off Brett Rollins as John Lobo Jr. would get crossed up. A lot of smoke, and right in the middle of the mix-up was Mike Cody with car number 33. Sparks would fly as the 87X would lose a wheel, and that would send everybody in different directions. Bobby Mercier would try to make a convertible out of his modified at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Richie Gallup was running towards the front of the field when Scott Gorman and Bernie Singer would make contact with George Gadaskis with car number 26. And the number 43 would go around as Cliff Stakey would give him a solid shot with car number 66. Dan Lincoln would rim ride off the turn, getting crossed up in front of Chuck Zantarski and Jimmy Ward. Bobby Venci goes to the outside of Leo Clary, gets up on 2 wheels and brings it back down. Phil Burrell makes the same type of move on Steve Knowlton as Pete Trappier squeaks by with car number 05. 2 rookies duke it out at Riverside Park as Ed Carroll III, Scott Booley, and John Lobo Jr. come together. This shot takes out about 6 to 8 automobiles. Rick Guile locks horn with Paul Lunta as Rob Povereri gets stuck on the outside. Jean-Paul Cabana gets crossed up and goes around with car number 5A. Through the dust and the smoke, they all squeak by. Jim Small and Ron Levesque comes together as Small goes for a barrel roll down the back straightaway with car number 33. And the mini stocks weren't going to let the modified show them up, as the 311 will do the same type of a barrel roll and then land back on its wheel. Reggie Ruggiero and Bruce D'Alessandro declare war on each other as D'Alessandro will hit the wall then jump out of his car and chase Ruggiero through the pit area. Billy Lordson tries to hold off Jerry Marquis. The Marquis gets crossed up. Chris Kopech goes down through the bottom of the infield. Darren Parente is able to squeak by with car number 80. But Gary Fermani is involved in this one, and so isn't Gary Zalonka. At the Thompson Speedway, Willie Hardy gets crossed up and tangles with car number 22. In the Pro Stock division, Art Chartier goes for a wild ride, then slides down the back straightaway area, where Mike Dagno is stuck down on the bottom, creating a lot of dust. At the Waterford Speed Bowl, John Anderson quickly jumped out in front, but behind him, Randy LaJoie and Doug Hoffman would come together with car number 1. And then there'd be more excitement. Jeff Fuller and Reggie Ruggiero would discover an upper groove that didn't exist. In the late model division, a broken axle would send this competitor around with car number 70. He'd go around several times and end up tagging the wall. A broken axle would show exactly what happened on the racetrack. Chuck Santarski would take it in deeper than most and still be able to continue. At Monadnock, Reggie Ruggiero and Dennis Albro would come together. Kirby Monteith and Rusty Ball would go at it. And then Levesque and Small would make contact to the turn. Street stock controversy, more smoke and more excitement. In the modifieds at the Stafford Motor Speedway, Jensen would get crossed up coming off the turn. Then Broderick would make contact with Berry while Berry was running up front with car number 22. Chuck Doherty would get crossed up, go around, and make contact with Bo Gunning. Everybody would scramble, and most of the competitors would somehow end up being okay. The Pro 4 division, another wild ride. Some got away, but some didn't. John Zavisa and Brian Schofield would come together. Schofield would go around just in front of Resentek. And Bruce D'Alessandro would have another one of those nights you'll like to forget. Pro Stock controversy and Steve Kelly's hard hit just off turn number 4. Ed Carroll, Fran Jr. Colson, the worst for body wear. And Louis Pryor makes turn number 4 just a little bit wider. Larry Vassar in the 69 would make contact. Bo Gunning and Mike Christopher with car number 82. Paul Supernaut looks to quickly head back to the pits. Beckman, Rosenfield, and the rest of the gang on oil in turns 3 and 4. Another pileup at Monadnock Motor Raceway. In this one, just about everybody was involved. Kirby Monteith again would be involved with Dennis Albro with car number 9. John Lobo Jr. would move to the inside. Jim Libby would end up going over Wes Rosner, and Roger Raymond would also be involved with car number 62. More excitement in the Pro Stock division as Jerry Marquis would go around with the number 73. And at Stafford, Brad Kroll would get crossed up. Mike Christopher would take the outside groove and somehow get away. Another spin in the modifieds. This time it would be Jensen with car 179. At Oswego, Jan Leedy would go for a wild spin. Jeff Fuller would be involved and Mike McLaughlin. Steve Park's unbelievable ride with car number 81. And even the Supers had their problem at Oswego. When we return after this commercial break, we'll bring you more heated excitement as we continue our look at spills and thrills of 1988. Welcome back to Raceweek. This holiday edition of Raceweek is being presented to you in Suffield, Connecticut, in a beautiful home that was built in 1776. The Christmas tree that I'm standing next to really takes on the flair and the theme of the 1700s. Instead of the popular lighting, most of the lighting was candles. In addition to that, the crystal balls and all the ornaments mostly were handmade. Back in 1776, a warm, cozy fireplace and a tree like this could make the holiday season extra special. Next, we'll go from 1776, from Suffield, Connecticut, to the fall months of 1988 for more of the best of Spills and Thrills. Monadnock Motor Raceway hosted more Pro Stock excitement as Wes Rosner would tag the wall. The midgets, well, they were no exception to the rule, as the wings would even go flying off. The midgets at Star Speedway. And Mike Stefanik, John Zavisa, and Dan Avery would come together. Greg Lessard would have a tough day of qualifying at the Oxford 250. And so would Ngata with car number 36. Everybody scrambles for position here in this one as Stub Fadden goes around directly in front of the field and somehow heads in the right direction. L.D. Ottinger goes to the inside, and there's more spinning and more mix-up. Jim Spencer down low, sliding towards the center of the infield. L.D. Ottinger will lose a wheel, and everybody will scramble as Ottinger heads back to the pit area. Stub Fadden's car is a lot shorter in this event. Gary Breaker will tag the wall as Brett Rollins will do the slide for life down the front straightaway. Teddy Hebert goes to the outside, then spins directly in front of Brian Crundon. And in the modifieds, Mighty Mike Stefanik gets crossed up with car number 16. Kelly Moore and Larry Caron get crossed up in qualifying for a Busch Grand National race at the Thompson Speedway. 3 wide for Jeff Fuller, Dave Rossetti's with car number 79. And in late model streets, Danny Lavoie goes around with car 66. He is okay, well, almost okay. Super modifieds make it the 4th of July in August. At Stafford, right up front, Bob Mercier has a problem, and there's more scrambling at the half mile. Late model street stocks, Ricky Shawn goes down low. Rick Dyke is involved in this one, and so isn't Rick Breen. Reggie Ruggiero and Mike McLaughlin come up on lap traffic at Beach Ridge in Scarborough, Maine. And at Riverside Park, John Rosati has a tough night and goes around as Charlie Pastriak and Bruce D'Alessandro come together. Charlie Pastriak and John Rosati make contact, with Pastriak showing the worst of the wear. Brian Crundon goes down through the wet stuff with Wayne Carroll. That scramble on the racetrack sends several cars spinning. Tony Papali loses the steering. Back across the racetrack. Some rough qualifying and lead for the Coors Tour. Dale Shaw's backup car goes around at the Thompson Speedway in the Busch Grand National event. And Eddie DeHunt goes for a long, safe slide down the back straightaway at Thompson. Ahead under at Riverside Park, and John Rosati shows the worst of the wear. Gary Zalanka and Art Caruso, and Dick McCabe's victory. Teddy Christopher gets crossed up with car 66, tags the wall, and everybody else is able to sweep by. George Savory makes contact with the wall, and then there's a mix-up behind him, and Chris Prescott and Jim Boniface come together, with Prescott showing the worst of the wear. Brian McCarthy tries to hold on, and Gary Hartson tags the wall with car number 12. Dirt cars on asphalt, Brett Hearn takes down the fence. And how about going over the bars in motocross competition? Four-wheel excitement with the quads that ends up in a big out. Tom Baldwin and George Kent come together, shortening Kent's car considerably. Then Dave Rossetti's get crossed up. Involved in this one is Jan Leedy, Doug Heveron, and Reggie Ruggiero. George Kent tags Lee Sherwood heavily at the Race of Champions. Super Dirt Week had a share of problems as Dickie Larkins goes over. And this was just one of many for Super Dirt Week. The Midgets got off to a tough start at the Thompson Speedway. Right in the start, about 8 cars was involved in this one, down to the center of the infield. Boniface did get crossed up, and Tony Papali did not only hit him, but hit the wall hard. And the wildest end-over-end of the season was Rick Donnelly at Thompson.
That's going to kind of wrap things up for another edition of Raceweek. We hope you've enjoyed a look at Spills and Thrills from 1988. We wish each and every one of you the happiest of holiday greetings and a Merry Christmas. Coming up on the next edition of Raceweek, we'll be recapping the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. We'll bring you the excitement for the first half of the season, starting at the Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina, right up to the outside pole qualifier at the Thompson International Speedway. Combine that with the best of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour, and you've got the next edition of Raceweek. Until then, we say Merry Christmas once again. We'll see you again next time for more of the best in New England motorsports coverage. Take care. Bye-bye now.